Welcome to California Virtual Family Law Attorney with founder Linda Garrett.
Welcome to California Virtual Family Law Attorney with founder Linda Garrett. Linda has been practicing family law in California for over 20 years and is the founder of the law office of Linda C. Garrett, based in Solano County. In addition to traditional representation, she offers family law legal coaching, helping individuals across California understand the legal process and confidently navigate divorce and custody matters. I'm LeAnn Lyon, and today we are discussing a question many people ask themselves. Can I represent myself in a California divorce? And if so, what does that truly involve? Hello, Linda. How are you?
Hi, good afternoon. How are you? And how is everyone else that's out there looking at this podcast? But I'm great.
Excellent. Wonderful. Well, I'm so excited to be here today. This is obviously an important topic. So, Linda, under California law, is someone legally allowed to represent themselves in a divorce case?
Not only are they legally allowed, by the way, they almost are the majority of people that do go to court in family law. You hear that phrase all the time, a person who represents themselves has a fool for a client. But in family court, I would not say that because from my experience, depending on different counties, but in my county, 90% of folks represent themselves. So absolutely someone can represent themselves, at least in California, which is where I practice.
So, are there types of divorce cases that are more manageable for self-representation or not manageable?
Well, that's a great question, but here's what's really odd. So come this August, I will have had 25 years in family law, and I have practiced out of what's called all the Bay Area counties, which is 11 of them, and all the courthouses in family law, which is 14. And I've offered full representation and coaching, and I've learned so much. And what I've learned is that it's not the issues themselves, like how many kids, how many houses, what's her income, because I have had cases where someone's married for 40 plus years, and I think the oldest clients I've had are in their 80s. Yes, in their 80s. Um, and they can get divorced in 6 months, which is the minimum time. And then I've had folks who've been married for a year with no kids, and the divorce can take 2 years. So it doesn't depend on the issues per se, it's the personality of the parties. So whenever I speak to someone, I always go through this one question. I go, what's your communication? And I call it a scale. The scale is from 0 to 10. The 0 is we don't talk at all. If the house was burning, Miss Garrett, I would not tell him. I'd sit there, just watch it burn with him in it. The other extreme is the 10, where they go, oh, we've been married since we were 18. We love each other. We just want to live separate lives. Kumbaya, it's all good. And those divorces, whether they're married 2 years, 40 years, etc., those can get resolved within 6 months. So it really depends on the personality and, ironically, not the issues. We're talking about houses, anything. You can be a millionaire, a billionaire. And it doesn't matter because at the end of the day, it gets down to one thing, really, the level of communication between the parties.
Wow, that's fascinating.
Odd but true.
Right. Truth is always more fascinating than fiction, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
So, what makes a case more significantly complicated or harder to handle without legal guidance?
I would say that what makes it hard, so I get the call all the time, Miss Garrett, or they call our office, I need representation or I need an attorney. And besides being an attorney who represents people and goes to court with them, so representation means my name shows up on the papers. I go to court with the person, they're sitting to my left or to my right. That's called representation. But I also provided for the last 20 plus years coaching. And people say, oh, so what's that? It's like, well, I'm not your attorney, meaning I don't show up anywhere, not on papers, not in court, but I'm here to help you to help yourself. And the reason I offer that is I have learned from my, again, decades of experience. When people say I need an attorney, what they're really saying, and they don't know they're saying, is I don't know what the heck I'm doing. Plug in another word if you want, but I don't know what the heck I'm doing. I don't know what the forms are, the procedures, what next, how to's about about anything. So I do the coaching, and once the person understands the process, like, oh, here's where you get the forms for free. Oh, I didn't know that. And here's where you get to file the documents in your court clerk's office. Oh, they do this all the time? Yes. So I've learned that if a person knows basics, and I kind of analogize that to me being a Michelin star chef, I'm in the kitchen with my glass of wine and I'm teaching you, the cook who's new, how to do your own omelet. And they're like, oh, I just do this and I do that. Absolutely. So most of my cases I've learned in California are coachable, whether they're an easy case, and crazy enough to say this, but it's true from my experience, a very complicated case. In fact, the more complicated it is, ironically, again, it's not complicated because of the facts and the assets, but it's because of the drama. And those are the ones that people cannot afford mostly to hire us for. So I do the coaching, and I know I'm going a little bit off topic, but it's a really important issue of the question I get asked all the time is, Garrett, will you represent me? And at the end of the day, it's not about the need for an attorney per se, as how much can they do on their own? And maybe they need me down the road. And I say that, okay, well, let's do coaching as far as we can. And then if I need to step in, and I have a list of my clients on this wall, I will then represent them. But a lot of my clients get coaching till the end. I once had a client, and I divert, but it's important, is that he was in the military and he needed to move to Delaware and wants to take the child. And the mom said, no, special needs child. And he wanted to hire me. Miss Garrett, I want to hire you. I hear that every day. And so he was frightened because I said, let's try the coach. He goes, well, no, because mom has an attorney in family law. I said, no, this is going to be very expensive. Let's try the coaching and let's just take it as far as we can. How about that? And he says, okay, Miss Garrett, I'll trust you. And not only did he take it all the way to trial, it's called a move away. He not only won his case on the move away, I get the chills still, when he did the trial by himself, that the judge stapled the ghost written judgment that I gave him to use. And he won his case from beginning to end on a move away trial while the mom had experienced family law counsel. So at the end of the day, as people are seeing this video, it's not about, do I just need an attorney? The question is, can I figure out a way to work with an attorney who's experienced in both coaching and representation, because it gets really expensive. And yes, I know I digressed. I'm sorry, but it's such an issue that's really big in my office that I get all the time, like daily. Okay, I'll stop.
And what I'm hearing is your passion for this. And I think what you're really doing is you're actually helping people help themselves
Yeah.
in a way that I think a lot of people don't um, always do. So that's beautiful. So, what are the more common mistakes that self represented individuals may make early in the process?
The common mistakes people make is just not doing basic homework. And the mistake they make is assuming that you need an attorney. And like you said, LeAnn, I do care, and it is hard to find attorneys, I think, that do care. I was once divorced myself many, many years ago, and my attorney was a great guy, and he treated me with dignity, and he had respect for me. And I feel, unfortunately, from my experience with attorneys and watching them talk to their clients, there isn't that. And so the mistake people make is just blindly wanting to hire us. And I literally have to say to people like this, Garrett, I'm going to hire you. I said, I'm sorry, I am not for sale. Is there a for sale sign on me? I am not a piece of bread. You're going to get off of Trader Joe's shelf and take me to the cashier register to pay for me. And they laugh. It is funny, but I don't take cases just because somebody thinks they need to hire an attorney. And that's the sad news, is that um, people hire attorneys out of fear, and we are not as needed as much as people think we are. And unfortunately, many attorneys don't tell these to their clients because they do it for the money. And I know that because attorneys have told me that. I have one attorney to my face said, Linda, I don't care if my client loses the kid, wins the kid. I get paid no matter what. And I remember that till the day I die. It was horrible. And and that's the thing. So I think people should also, the other mistake they make is not vetting the attorney, going to the state bar's website to see if they've had any disciplinary action taken against them. Um, Reviews are nice, but on occasion with family law attorneys, it's a mixed bag because I get bad reviews on occasion from the person I did not represent, and they pretend I represented them. So I represented the mom, she won, but then that father goes on the website or on a Yelp review and says, "Miss Garrett was awful." So Google reviews are a little tougher, but overall, most of them are honest. So doing reviews, checking to see with the state bar, going to the person's website to see what they practice because there are attorneys who are jack of all trades, personal injury, estate planning, anything related to the family, but they don't do family law, which is its own specific area of law. So that's a mistake people will make. They'll just hire an attorney who just either is not experienced, jack of all trades. And the other one is maybe hiring an attorney that is really new and inexperienced. And from my experience, I get one of two types of new attorneys. The ones that are humble and say, okay, I trust Miss Garrett because she has been around for a while. Or I get the attorney, this happens, that pretends to know more than I do and says, this was just a month ago, this one attorney with 5 years of experience in many areas of law called me incompetent. I love that because I just smirked. I said, okay, because my job's not to insult him, not to um, correct him, but he fought me on an order and he kept saying I was wrong. And I pushed back, and the court signed my version of the order. So again, that's because this guy didn't have enough experience. And what happens with inexperienced attorneys, they're the ones who burn through their clients' fees because they don't know what they're doing and they're charging their client for their inexperience. So vetting your attorney, checking the state bar, some reviews with a grain of salt, and and the other mistake I said is just assuming you always need an attorney, and you don't.
Well, let's talk a little bit about custody matters. You brought that up briefly just now. So, what challenges do self-represented parents face in court?
The biggest challenge they face is themselves. And here's
Mm.
why. They come to the court with their emotions, and the courts are not designed to work from a place of emotion or from a place. They work from a place of logic, from facts, from evidence. And a fact to me is not a fact unless you have the evidence to support it. So if somebody says, my husband's an alcoholic, what are your facts? DUIs, arrest records, he's in AA, and turns out she was lying. So to me, that's one of the issues we see. So the problems that I see a lot when people do represent themselves and don't get the coaching from me is I'll see a draft declaration. It's not fair. He cheated on me. Or I get the call that says he's never going to see those kids again because he cheated on me. They're driven by their emotions. And more times than not, they're not representing themselves properly in court. So now I say to my coaching clients or my clients, you're not speaking Chinese. Chinese means you're speaking in a language the judge understands because all the other words you use out of your mouth are not making sense. And the judge can't use the words about he cheated. It's not fair. And so so bottom line, I would say the biggest problem for a self-represented person is themselves. They sabotage their cases. And then they lose credibility with the court, that C word to me is a cancer. Once you've lost credibility with the judges will note it in their file for the next judge. I pretty much feel you're doomed. And again, I speak from experience on these issues. And with my
Mm.
clients, you better not lie or I will not represent you. I'm like, don't. And that's the thing. Sabotage by my clients who before they had me either as their coach or as their attorney, were in this drama. I call it the drama trauma. Lots of that in family law.
So, there's a difference between simply filing paperwork, though, and actually having to be in courtroom procedure. Where do people feel unprepared, or how do you help them in those situations?
Sure. So that is an excellent question because when somebody says a hearing, it's a term of art in a way because when we say a hearing, it could be what's called a review hearing, one that's maybe just a few minutes, like 5, 10 minutes. Another one could be called an evidentiary hearing, which could be at least an hour to two. Some are called long, um, depending on your jurisdiction in California, some call them trials, but they're different words. And so, depending on the type of hearing you have, a person more times than not can be coached. So here's one example. I got a call. This is just one, but it happens often. This type of call where someone calls me, says, "Miss Garrett, I need you. I need to hire you for my DV hearing, domestic violence hearing that's tomorrow." Yes, I get those calls. Or next week, and you represent me. I said, "Well, let's try the 1 hour, just 1 hour with with me." And then I learned that it just got served a few days ago. There's temporary orders in place, and that this person has the right to ask for a one-time continuance by law. It's mandated by law. If this person has never filed a response, it just got served, they have the right to ask for one continuance, and it must be given without exception. The one exception possibly if they filed a response. But assuming this person did not file a response, they just found out about this case, they can go to court and ask the court for one continuance to then properly prepare. And so imagine if this gentleman hired me to show up, wait an hour or two for his case to be called, to be there for 5 minutes to ask for continuance. So again, in cases like this, I try to help the person determine when I'm needed. And there's many times when I'm not. So if they have a hearing, many times I'll just coach them on what to do and what to say. So I'll say, okay, you have a child at this hearing, ask for continuance and ask to see your child and ask for some visitation time. And they'll call me back or they'll text me, say, "Miss Garrett, you're right. I was so stressed out. When's my next coaching?" There we go.
Oh, that's wonderful. And again, I appreciate your heart and what you're doing and how you're helping people. And so, as we wrap up this episode, I just want to extend to our audience, thank you for listening to California Virtual Family Law Attorney with Linda Garrett.
Mhm.
If you'd like to learn more about Linda's family law legal coaching or traditional representation services, visit lindagarrettlaw.com. And if this episode was helpful, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with others navigating family law in California. Thank you, Linda.
Oh, thank you. Bye.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.